You hear those hated words that nobody wants to hear. I'm not in love with you. Or maybe your partner thought that they'd make it a little bit easier for you, or perhaps do it gently in saying, look, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Not easy if you're on the receiving end of that, or giving it. Or maybe things that were said to you were quite blunt and to the point and quite hurtful, tearing you down and hurting you very, very deeply. So making it also sound perhaps it's a bit like your fault that they want to leave. You know what? It hurts. You love your partner, but for whatever reason, your partner no longer wants to be with you. You might be in that position. I mean, there's just so many different ways that this can play out. But to be in love with each other again, this is what I'm going to talk to you about today. It can happen. I can assure you it can happen with will, want, and work. And, you know, the process for saving and liberating your marriage, because that is what needs to happen, is dependent on many factors, especially the amount of years that the two of you have been together. So say you're a couple that have been together for just 5 years. It is going to be very, very different to a couple that have been together for, say, 22 years. The couple that have been together for 22 years, they may have been disconnected for a lot longer. There could be quite a bit more baggage and wounds and things that just have not been talked about or dealt with. So this is all about how to fall back in love with your partner and begin with what you can control versus can't control. I always come back to what you have the power to change. You know what? You can't change your partner. And understanding what you can change, either things that are not changeable or things that if they were to change would have to be changed by someone other than you. Which, what do you mean to do with that? That's totally out of your control. So it's really getting that. That's actually taken me a long time to get that myself. For example, you cannot change what your partner feels, can you? Only they can. And you can't change what has happened. Not what your partner has done or what you have done or what they haven't done. The past is unchangeable. And it is what it is. And you cannot, say for example, you cannot change your partner's drinking, or their swearing, or their over talking, or biting their nails, or they love to socialise, or their messy hair, or their body odour, or their addiction to perhaps social media, or their disrespectfulness, or the stress, they can't deal with it, or being unsupportive around the house, their depression. There's so much more. But you can change what you do now. And it comes back to 1, the way you act. 2, the way you think. And also the right approach. Because it all comes back to how you feel. It's an absolute must that you understand the difference between what you can change and what you cannot. Do not allow yourself to sort of, it's drifting into this fantasy that you can change someone. You cannot change them. And allowing yourself to think that you will sabotage any effort that you make towards saving your marriage. So it's calm versus stress. And you know what? It is normal for you to feel stress about whether you can salvage your marriage. And you know what? There's a lot of other emotions, aren't there? There's fear, there's sadness, there's anxiety, pain, hurt, anger, the feelings of powerlessness, hopelessness. You know, and it's very, very normal. But prolonged, it is negative and it is toxic. So developing calmness and being grounded is one of the best and most powerful things that you can do to save your marriage. Bring it back to you. No projection. Bring it back to you. Not, you know, it's about you being able to come back together, but to be fulfilled and to be in love. And the more that you operate, you know, out of that negative side, the stress side, the greater the likelihood that the things that you do will work against fixing or salvaging your marriage, however you want to put it. You know, if you let the negatives take over and rule you, those negatives will destroy any hope for your marriage. So moving from stress to calm when you can't control the circumstances, it's being able to work with your circle of control. It's embracing acceptance. It's stop trying to control the circumstances and your partner. And it's stopping because you accept that you cannot change them. When you keep trying to control the things you can't control, it is like butting your head up against a wall, and it hurts your head very much so. And you know what? It doesn't do a thing to change that brick wall, does it? And what it does is you're constantly hurting yourself. So people can view you as out of control, not living within reality, and someone to avoid. And your partner will move further and faster away from you. I see it in my counselling sessions. You know, the partner gets annoyed because you're trying to control them. You're trying to convince them. People show you who they are. Believe them the first time. Accept what your partner feels rather than trying to argue or convince them that they don't feel what they're telling you. Ultimately, it's acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean that things are as you wish them to be or that you like it. It just means that you accept it. You may not like it, you may not want it, but it's about acceptance, even if you don't like it, unless it's hitting up against your values. So, if you did something that led or helped lead to this marital problem that you're in, accept that you did it. And that you can't go back, you can't undo it. Acceptance, I can't stress that enough. Trying to change the past is an impossible task. You're just not going to be able to do it, are you? So rather than beating yourself up about it, or continually telling your partner that you won't ever be like that again, accept that you did it. Accept. Sincerely say you're sorry and then quit focusing on it. So instead focus on the present, focus on the future, and that's something that you can change. And if your partner did something that has caused your current crisis, same principle holds true. It's happened. No one can undo it. And if you want to salvage your marriage, if you want to fall in love with your partner again, you're going to have to accept whatever has happened and accept your partner how they do what they do, and quit allowing yourself to be in turmoil, to be in pain, and to perhaps be controlling. Because when you don't accept reality, you stay in the stress. And as long as you're there, you aren't going to do the right things to repair your marriage and to fall in love with your partner again. And so it really comes back to that. People, what I've noticed over the years of working with clients is people tend to focus on the things that are out of their control, wishing and hoping that they can find a new way to gain control. But that's too bad, because it doesn't work. What works is realizing the things within your control and then concentrating there and putting your energy into that. So both accepting and acting have to be done. So you accept what you cannot control and you do something about what you can control. And I'd like you to think of some examples of what that could be. Perhaps, getting fit again. Perhaps you've let yourself go, and perhaps your partner's let themselves go, but that's their business. You've got no control over that. It's working with you. If you're not attracted to your partner, well, first of all, you've got to get attracted to you first. So perhaps if you've put some weight on, do some work around that. Work with what is in your control. So falling back in love, it starts with you first. Fall back in love with you. And acceptance. I can't stress that enough. So work with that. Work with your circle of control and what you can change. And I'll see you on the other side.